Okay, we're going to talk about why you feel like things have gone wrong and how to remove the anxiety from what you keep planning in your life. Okay? So here's let me illustrate with some drawings. So here's the plan. This is how we think things are going to go. We have our start. This is always our start. Here's our wonderful line of life, and this is our goal. Okay? So we have our start, we have our goal. This is what we do. This is actually what we do. We line out all the ways, all the ideas of how we're going to get to our goal. Here's all the steps. We have a beautiful plan. This is the way it should go. This is right. This is our vision. The problem here is this vision is limited based on our past experience. So we only know the way something can go based on the way that things have gone, or even by the research that we do. Okay, so this is our plan. So we think this is the way it goes, and then what happens is when it doesn't go this way, when it goes like this, so this is really the way it ends up going. You can still get to the goal. Here's your start, here's your goal. You can still get to the goal, but it feels super messy. It feels like the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns. We think this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what it ends up looking like. Okay, and you've probably seen a reel on this before, and I'm going to give you a third option. So I hope you're ready for the third option. This is something I just learned by spending a month in Italy without all these check marks, and I want to give you what I've learned that will blow your mind and change your life. Okay? So first I want to explain to you though, the anxiety and resistance that's created inside of you, it's because this is what happens. Okay? This is your past. This is that beautiful future that you have lined out. And in the past, you have had experiences. And these experiences, painful, painful, painful. Life's 50-50. Half the time it's great, half the time it's not. Well, what we do is we go, okay, this was painful, this is painful, this is painful. So I'm going to plan the future. I'm going to plan the way something should go. And let's plan it to avoid the pain. We're either doing one of two things. We're avoiding pain or we're seeking pleasure. That is it. That's what we do as human beings. So we're going to avoid the pain. So now my plan is going to consist of, here's the trajectory, here's the steps that I'm going to take to avoid pain. And then what feels really terrible is you have these steps, it doesn't go that way, it starts going this way. And along the way, you start to have some anxiety right about here. You're like, this feels like garbage. I don't want to do this. My plan's not working. This isn't what I wanted it to be. So you stop. You stop. And then you stay stuck. This is your stuck space right here. Okay? So here's where we stay stuck. And then we never get to the gold star. We never get to where the joy, the happiness, the goal, like what we want. This is where we stay. And then we recycle right here. And we hate it. We hate it. And it's painful and it sucks. All right. So how do we do this differently so that you can enjoy and get here and not have to avoid pain? You ready? This is what it looks like. Here's your start, as always. Here's your goal. Here's your start. Here's what happens. You still have your goal. You still have your idea. You still have your plan. We don't take that away. You can have a loose agenda, ideas, some research, whatever you want that to be, to see maybe, knowledge of other people, what this could look like. You're still going to have an idea. We're still going to dream. We're still going to fantasize. We're still going to have all of that. But then here's what happens. You take this first step. You plan the first step. You take the first step right here. You listen to yourself and you trust yourself. And you go, is this a 10 out of 10? Which means, is this a 10 out of 10 for this step? Should I do this? Should I not do this? How does this feel? Is this in alignment with myself? Is it congruent with my goals? Does this feel right? And don't look outside of yourself. and ask somebody else, is this right? Am I taking the right step? What do you think? Right? Like, you're going to pull. You're going to call your mom. You're going to call your sister. You're going to call your best friend. You're going to ask somebody at work, is this the right step? Why do you think that everybody else knows better for you than you know for yourself? Why would anybody else have any idea about how this is a good step for you any better than you do for you? We are so busy taking in information and taking in opinions that we aren't stopping to get quiet, to just trust ourselves, to ask ourselves, is this right for me? Is this the right step? Is this a 10 out of 10? Is this a win-win? Is this a win for me? If it's not, that doesn't mean we throw it out the window. We just go, is this an 8 out of 10? How do we make it a 10 out of 10? What's missing? What do I need? And then once you get it to be a 10 out of 10, okay, you trust yourself, it's a 10 out of 10, it feels right, you are set up to win. Okay? Set up to win. Then you take that step. And then the next step, you do the same thing. You trust yourself. You go, is this a 10 out of 10? Am I set up to win? And then you go again. 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 Here's the thing. Now your line, we like to say life looks like this, but this feels pretty terrible. Terrible. It feels terrible. We don't want to experience this. So now if I'm going to be like, do you want to experience this? Because this is what life looks like. You're like, no, thank you. Because it's unpredictable. And unpredictable feels terrible. The predictable part is this. You're not taking a step if it doesn't feel right to you. If it feels right to you and you take the step, you remove the resistance that you have to taking that step, to that step being bad for you, to that step being scary. It doesn't create fear for you when you trust yourself. If you have fear being created, you need to look at, what is that coming from? If I'm fearful, what is creating the fear for me? What's happened to me maybe in the past that maybe I am projecting onto, maybe that's going to happen here? What's my pattern of behavior that maybe says, be fearful of this thing because something bad might happen? There's pieces of you that you need to look at to explain why you might be fearful, why you might have that be afraid, why you might be, fear is usually the one that comes up for most people when you're taking steps. But if you're like, I'm going to take the step and it creates sadness or grief or joy for me, like, know what it is. Where is it coming from? Ask yourself. If you ask yourself, you will find the answer. Don't ask the guy off the street. Don't ask your friend. Don't ask your mom. They don't know. You need to get quiet, give yourself some space and ask yourself. Okay? Then your journey is going to look and feel. It may not seem like it looks like this because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where you're going. It's going to be even more amazing than you can even imagine. Because all you can imagine is what's happened in the past. And then you are going to dictate your moves based on what's happened in the past, trying to avoid pain. So then your journey looks like this, and it feels like garbage. We don't need a garbage journey. We need a self-trust journey. We need a journey that feels amazing. And it doesn't matter what happens, because you can face and move through and conquer anything that happens when you trust yourself. And you know that it's set up for your good, for you to learn, to grow. So when you bump up against a wall, then your question is, what's the wall I'm bumping up against? What is this wall showing me? What is this person in front of me showing me about myself? What is this relationship showing me about myself? If I'm fearful to go do something or take a step, great. What's happening for me, or where is that coming from? Why would I be fearful? Take us back to being kids. We didn't run around being fearful all the time. We were taught. We were taught to be fearful. We really were. We were taught by experiences, by terrible things that have happened. We were taught to be fearful. But we can't live. If you want to stay stuck right here, stay stuck in that cycle. If you want joy, happiness, excitement, an amazing life, that looks and feels amazing, here you go. There's your solution. And if you need more help, shoot me a DM. All right.